It's time now for this week's Family Matters segment. And this morning we're talking mental health struggles throughout the pandemic. And here to help discuss this are the experts, communications and relationship specialists, Pamela Pressler and Melissa Solkowski. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So Melissa was actually telling me before we started this that there is a trend going on. 42% of Americans during the pandemic have experienced a decline in mental health. Pamela, is this something that you guys can attest to, something that you guys have seen yourselves?
Yeah, Bruce, I think Melissa and I both, we talk a lot about checking in with people that we've spoken with about how the pandemic's affected them. And I think we can all acknowledge that it was very scary, very sudden, and very unpredictable when the pandemic hit the United States and, swept through very quickly. And people went into reactive mode. There wasn't a plan, and people were terrified. And the fear lasted a long time. And so what we know is that when we're working with people and scary things happen and they happen suddenly, that there's some grief associated with that. We all went from our normal lives to overnight being essentially locked down and scrambling for groceries and things like that. And so there was a lot of grief from going from our normal lives to being locked down with masks and not being able to associate with the people we loved and cared about. And Melissa's going to talk more about that.
Sure. I think one of the things that we've seen is just almost an amplification of kind of coping skills and symptoms that may have already been present. And as Pam mentioned, anytime our world sort of turns on its head, just that unpredictability and trying to find ways to sort of recreate some sense of peace and order and calm on the inside, so that can be, kind of emulated out externally for our children, our families, our relationships, because we should expect that anytime we're thrown into that unpredictable space, specifically around the pandemic, that things are going to heighten. And so how do we build in some level of predictability, some level of self-care and maintaining human connection, because it's a need for us.
And because there was so much unpredictability and the sudden change with the pandemic, and it's hitting some maybe harder than others, especially mentally, what are some signs that someone may be struggling?
I think most people, it's this sense of fear and hopelessness. When I talk to people in my office, they relate to just not feeling like they want to go out and be in public in the same ways, that they're not enjoying their same activities. Fortunately, Melissa and I were talking about this prior to being on today, that we're seeing something, that I would say is like COVID confidence. People are becoming more confident in how they're managing it. So I feel like our experience has been that they're pulling themselves out of it more, but really making sure that those people who still feel like they're struggling are getting the help they need and connecting with professionals who can help support them through it. And there are a lot of good resources in our community for that, and just making sure those people are connected.
All right, well, communications and relationship specialists Pamela Pressler and Melissa Solkowski, you guys, thanks so much for joining us this morning, and we'll see you back here next week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.